In this video, we talk about virtual assistants for e-commerce, Amazon sellers, and beyond. My guest today is Roland from Wing Assistant. They help business owners to get VAs in an easy way. And in our conversation, we cover topics like when to hire VAs, how to find the best talents, and what are the pros and cons having a VA or full-time worker, and so on. By the way, if you want to check what Wing Assistant does, you will find the link below in the description. And as always, don't forget to hit like for our videos. Hello, Roland. It's nice to have you here. Could you please introduce yourself and tell us how do you help Amazon sellers?
Hey, Augustus. Good to see you. Happy to do so. I'm Roland. I'm founder of Wing Assistant. And how we help e-commerce e-commerce businesses is to match them with assistants who can help them with all kinds of recurring and repetitive work, such as product research, customer service, and really anything around like those typical activities that e-commerce businesses have, especially on Amazon.
The link to Wing Assistant service you will find below in the description. We can talk about this a bit later, but we wanted to basically break down what is virtual assistant in terms of for Amazon sellers, for e-commerce business owners. And since you have a lot of experience in that, let's talk more about that. So let's start with the beginning, like in the context of, let's say we have an e-commerce business owner, Amazon seller. So what does it mean, virtual assistant in that business? What does it mean? Yeah.
Yeah. It's a question that many people ask, and it's a great question. So when you think about your e-commerce business, you essentially are like when you start in the beginning, you're typically one person. Maybe you have a partner, but as you grow, your tasks become just bigger, and you have more tasks. You have more things to do. You may want to start advertising. You may want to start introducing customer service, and if you do everything yourself, you're very limited, right? And you can't scale beyond a certain point, which is fine for some small businesses. But if you want to grow, then you need to add additional team members. And that's the essence of what we do, right? We help small and medium-sized businesses to add team members to their team to help them with core tasks. And again, that can be product research, that can be listing optimization, that can be inventory management, customer support. Everything that doesn't really require your high-level strategic insights, that's still your job as the business owner. But yeah, with everything else where you would usually want to hire someone, that's where we can provide high quality and affordable talent.
And how do you make sure that your virtual assistants keep information about what's going on up to date? Do you provide some kind of trainings to them, or?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, we hire only the top tier talent in the talent pool. So we recruit in the Philippines, in India, in Latin America. So depending on what a specific Amazon shop or generally e-commerce needs, we'll find the best talent. Or if you have a preference regarding a country, we can make that happen too. So that's where we start. And then if there is additional skills that need to be trained, we do have our own training department. And if you say, hey, I need my assistant to also be skilled in HubSpot or in a certain other tool or technology, we can do that for you.
So you mentioned that you can get VAs for different tasks, which are kind of repetitive. You also mentioned that in general, VAs help you to scale and grow your business. But what if you want to grow your business in different marketplaces or different product categories? Can really virtual assistant help with more strategic research and help?
Absolutely. So I would say when it comes to the overall business strategy, you as a business owner still want to set that strategy, and you have to decide, okay, do I want to expand to a certain product range? Do I want to expand globally into a different country, etc. But apart from that decision, obviously, your assistant can assist you in that research. You can delegate tasks such as seeing what the market size is, what pricing would be, what the competitive landscape looks in a certain area, whether that's geographically or whether that's geared towards any type of product. Like all that, let's say, busy work of that decision that underlies your decision making, that research can absolutely be done by an assistant.
And of course, there are ways to hire a virtual assistant by yourself. Just go on the internet. There are like great sites like Online Jobs or Upwork. And I would like to know the difference by hiring VAs from these kind of individually in these platforms and using, let's say, service like yours. Like, what's the difference, pros and cons?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say if you are a huge e-commerce business and you have, let's say you need 100 employees, you may want to set up your own HR department and hire yourself, right? Because then at that scale, it makes economic sense to have it in-house. However, if you're smaller, if you're like a 15, 20, 30 people business, that typically doesn't make sense, right? Because you need to do the recruiting, the selection, you need to keep track of payroll, of who has how many vacation days. And obviously, if someone leaves, you need to replace them. So you basically start the process from the get-go. And that's basically all these things that we do for you or for our clients and other e-commerce businesses, is take all that administrative work off their plates. We do payroll, we do the hiring and searching and interviewing, we do the upskilling and training. And whenever someone leaves, we'll do replacements at no cost. So it's basically, with us, you can rely on having additional team members and can completely ignore all the administrative hassle that's typically hovered around that. And just to say that, right? I mean, like you mentioned Upwork, and Fiverr would be another option or another example. Those are great for project-based work, right? If you need a logo designed, if you need maybe a new website set up, or anything that really, like where you have a project where there is a beginning and an end, you know, it's going to take 2 weeks or 2 months or whatever. I would highly suggest you go to Upwork and you find a contractor that has experience, good ratings, etc., and then you do that. But if you have repetitive tasks and you really need someone either part-time or full-time on your team for longer, then a managed marketplace or managed service like Wing will provide better quality and more peace of mind.
Let's say someone still, maybe they are not ready to invest a bit high amount of money using, let's say, service like yours, and they decide to go to search for virtual assistant in themselves. Do you have any tips how to evaluate the work experience of virtual assistant? You know, they will get lots of applications, and all of them, like you can see, probably, especially maybe from Philippines, they will have a nice CV. But how to evaluate which virtual assistant to choose for my business?
Yeah, it's tough, and you can only do so much. The only thing that I could recommend, if you really want to go out and set it that you're on your own, I would make sure to ask for references and email or call these people, and ideally also check out the candidate's LinkedIn profile, see if there's activity to kind of vet the content that you see on the resume, and also obviously the resume itself, right? Look for typos, look for formatting issues, because that's typically a good indicator of the vigor and conscientiousness of those applicants, because if the resume is in order and is looking good, it's a good indicator that these people will be hard workers that put diligence in their process.
You mentioned the references, and I just thought a few days ago, like these kind of references, I thought it was important like 20, 30 years ago when there was no internet. So you really call a person and ask, and does it still work? Like if, let's say, it's a Filipino, and if you see a phone number of, I don't know, their previous employer, it's worth to call and talk to those people?
It is. And yes, calling does work, but obviously you can also email, you can also use LinkedIn. Like those channels are open, and maybe it would even work better with your time zone, depending on where you are in the globe. By the way, speaking of, like all of our assistants do work on whatever time zone you're in. So if you're in the US, if you're in Great Britain or Australia, we do have teams that work specifically in those time zones. And yeah, so would your dedicated assistants. But again, like, yeah, if you want to call, that typically works. You just have to make sure that you have a phone line that allows calls to the Philippines or to Latin America. And again, like email works fine, LinkedIn works fine too.
All right. And the virtual assistant is kind of one type of helper. And of course, another part of the team could be a full-time employee. Can you give us a little bit difference and pros and cons of having VA and having a full-time employee, which maybe is employed officially into your company? Like what are...
Yeah, so I would say it depends on what you need them to do. If you need someone to be in the office, that's an easy one, right? You should hire someone full-time and have them in the office, because obviously virtual assistants, they're remote by definition. They won't be in your office. So that's an easy one. Apart from that, if you need someone with high-level experience, with let's say a PhD, or someone who's your like core business partner who helps you with business strategy, like those kind of like super high level, more strategic roles, I would encourage you to hire full time and make them your employee, just because you want them to be close to you and maybe want them to come to the office. For anything else, really, I would always suggest go for remote talent. And like my entire marketing team, essentially, even marketing and customer success and sales team, actually all of our teams, they are outsourced, and they are based in different countries such as the Philippines, India, Bangladesh, Canada. And so there is, to me, as a leader and manager, there's no difference whether it's a full-time employee or a full-time remote contractor. Because yeah, how I lead my teams, we have virtual or remote meetings anyway, and the paperwork in the background doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it's a good point of these meetings. I think they are needed when you have remote team, because you cannot talk very often with those people directly. What is your strategy when it's like, let's say, a VA? How often do you need to have calls, or a manager needs to talk to this person?
Yeah, so with the people that I directly manage, I like to have calls at least twice a week, typically more 3 or 4 times a week, just to have that connection. Because if you're not running into or bumping into each other in the office, then you do want to have just that social interaction. I make sure everyone turns their videos on calls, because if you're not being together physically, at least you should see the other's facial expressions and see, are they happy, are they sad, how are they doing, and obviously vice versa, right? I also want to make sure that my team knows how I'm doing, so I like to do that. And again, it doesn't have to be a long call, it doesn't have to be super complicated. Sometimes we do just 15-minute check-ins to see, okay, what are your plans for today? Can I help? Can I be helpful with anything today? And that's just going to be it. And then everyone can go back and focus on their tasks.
Talking a little bit about your service, what areas are you focusing or specializing, or you are covering a big range of like industries?
Yeah, so e-commerce is really only one aspect that we do. We recently entered into the healthcare space, so we do offer healthcare VAs. We do offer medical scribes. So those are among the newer service types. But obviously, we also offer salespeople, general assistance for like more admin tasks like research, email management, calendaring management. And then one of our best sellers is executive assistants, because that's more of a high caliber talent, basically an extension to yourself as a leader, to make sure that all the tasks that you're inundated with, that they get done on time and you don't miss anything. And then, a couple of additional roles like digital marketing assistants, graphics designers. Those are among the services we offer.
That's great. And can you give us some examples of case studies where businesses were using VAs and got some benefit.
Yes, 100%. We actually have a couple of case studies on our website. One of them, I actually created that case study with them. They're called ELW Shop. They're a leather e-commerce. Like they sell leather products, very like fine crafted, tailor-made products. And so they actually run their customer service through Wing. They run their marketing and general e-commerce support, like managing shipment problems or, again, product research, listing management, etc. And they were actually able to, save, if you compare those labor costs to US-based talent, they save about $120,000 or more every year just by using Wing, and they can make sure, they can be sure and be have peace of mind that everything is managed on the back end. They again don't have to worry about payroll. They don't have to worry about constant quality control, because those are the aspects that we take off their shoulders.
Do you have any tips how to find those kind of more smart talents from affordable countries? For example, if I'm searching, like, let's say a graphical designer in Upwork, I will get like 20, 30, 40 applications from Asian freelancers. And I would say like just 10% are really good. I recently had to test some, and out of like 40 samples, like just 2 samples were like good to consider, but they were not like the best. But any tips how to identify those talents, like any tests to give?
So what I can tell you here, Augustus, is that there isn't a magic bullet, because it ultimately comes down to large numbers. You will have to screen just a large number of applicants to be able to pick those unicorns and those gold nuggets out of the talent pool. If you want to do it yourself, I would suggest you just allot a significant amount of time and really dive deep into that, and like get as many applications as you can, right? Getting 40, 50 applications for a graphics designer job is typical. We, like at Wing, like obviously we have a whole system and a whole team that's focused only on talent acquisition, and they do that every day. We have assessments that we set up for every single role, and we have standardized interviews where we make sure that we really dive into those critical aspects. If you want to do that yourself, again, like it's possible. You just have to make sure that you allot a lot of time to it, and then make sure that you don't stop after seeing 3 applicants. Make sure that you go for 30, 40, 50 to make sure so that you understand what does the talent look like in the market, and then you can make an informed decision of which of these candidates is really living up to the mark.
Okay, so I understood it's a pain you have to go yourself if you want to do it by yourself. Basically, scan, test. You might lose 1 or 2 months working with someone until realizing that they are not a good fit.
Could be.
And all right. And talking about Wing, you say you have like different processes in place. So how do you match, your client comes and he wants a VA, let's say a good graphical designer. So how do you provide now a good graphical designer?
So our process looks such that you as a customer or a client would come in, would check out what the services we offer. You said, okay, you're interested in a graphics designer. You would then typically speak to our sales team first to kind of see if your business, if your needs are a high-level match, if we can provide you with what you need. If that's a yes, we would set up a call with your client success manager, where you basically outline in more detail what your requirements are. You basically give us your job description for that graphics designer. We take notes. We kind of explore with you whether it needs to be an entry level or mid-tier, or maybe an expert with more experience, and what kind of tools they would use, what kind of tasks they would be doing. Would it be more like logo design? Would it be more like, editing pictures or creating drawings or whatnot? And so we take all these requirements down and pass on your required job description to our talent acquisition team. And then the talent acquisition team goes into our vast talent pool and basically picks the types of talent that would be a good fit for your job description. If you want to, you can interview candidates beforehand. We do offer that. We don't require that, but if you want to do that, you're happy to do so. You can speak with them, or we just make the decision on your behalf, and you don't have to worry about it. We find you the best fit, and then you start working with them. Still, if you figure out for whatever reason, then after all, not a great fit, and that can be after a week, it can be after 2 months, or really at any point of time, we will give you a free replacement and give you an assistant that is hopefully a better fit.
So sounds like your service is like a remote human resources department.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. You can. Yeah, I mean, I would always, as a business guy, I would call it a platform. But yeah, in essence, if you look at it from a labor perspective, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
All right. So besides people have possibilities to search for VAs in, of course, sites like onlinejobs.ph, Upwork, free Fiverr, and another great alternative is your service, Ving. You will find those who are listening. You will find the link below to Ving Assistant in the description. And again, can you remind what kind of VAs Amazon seller could get through your platform?
Yeah, so typically for Amazon sellers, we do offer customer service. We offer marketing assistants, graphics designers, and general virtual assistants for basically administrative tasks. That would include executive assistants to really help business leaders to get their own personal life in order and be less inundated with tasks.
And can they hire per hour, full-time, half-time? What are the requirements?
Great question. So we don't do hourly. That would be either someone from a different platform or maybe Upwork or Fiverr. We offer the lowest tier would be part-time, so 20 hours a week. And typically we do full-time. So if you really want to have an additional team member, that's the way to go. You can always start with a part-time, and if that goes well, upgrade down the line.
And the part-time cost starts from?
That starts at $499. So yeah, for 20 hours a week, $499 is our lowest tier administrative assistant plan, and then it goes all the way up. If you need an expert digital marketing assistant, you might have to pay upwards of $2,500 for that top tier, top notch experienced talent.
All right, so the link below in the description, and thank you, Roland, for this overview.
Thank you.
I hope to our listeners it was useful. Thank you. Bye. If you are searching to hire virtual assistants, VAs, check the link below for Ving Assistant. It's a Roland's company, and they will help you to get your assistant very quickly and well-trained, and hopefully it will help you to grow your business. And as always, if you like the content we create, don't forget to hit like and subscribe buttons below this video. And if you have any comments about virtual assistants, leave them in the comment section below, and we will ask Roland to answer them. And now I would like to invite you to watch other related video about VAs, where my guest, Lisette Liss, our face at OrangeClick, is sharing how she went from a VA to store manager for Amazon sellers, and she gives some good tips on how to get your VAs for your Amazon business.